are you feeling this readiness to say like, okay, it's time for me to care about my life, but that doesn't mean I have to stop caring about other things. Like, it's not one or the other. We get to have both. We get to have it all. And when we have that realization, when we have those moments internally with ourselves, that's when you create the freedom you truly, truly desire. Hello, beautiful people. Yes, I am talking to you. Are you ready to feel confident AF, free from the expectations and opinions of others, and create ultimate self-trust in who you are, what you say, and how you show up in every part of your life? If you answered a hell yes, I am, I guarantee this episode will empower you to be 100% yourself, 100% of the time, no shame or guilt needed. It's time for you to strut your stuff, express yourself with freedom, and fully embrace every freaking fabulous part of you. Let's dive in. Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome to another episode of Road to Radical Visibility. My name is Rachel Freemon Sowers, also known as the Break Free Bitch, because I am passionate about helping people just like you break free from the toxic social constructs, expectations, and beliefs that are holding you back from experiencing your life exactly the way that you want to. And if you've hung out here for very long, you'll know that my personal and professional mission is helping you be 100% yourself, 100% of the time. No shame or guilt needed. So this episode, it's going to be very different than other episodes because it's just a free for all. Like, I'm just going to say what's on my mind, what comes to my mind. And it's all about really turning 51 this last weekend. What a fabulous time. What a fabulous birthday. Thank you to everyone who sent me birthday wishes. I really appreciate that. It's so great to be connected to a community like all of you. I really do consider you as my family, as my friends. And it is important to me to know that you are being inspired by this podcast and this show. So I put a little bit of a twist on my email that I sent out the day before my birthday. If you're not on my email list, make sure that you get on it. I send an email out every 2 weeks, and it tells you what's coming up. It gives you a little bit of my heart, from my heart to yours. And this last one, I talked about how so many times when you turn 40, and let me know if you can relate in the comments below, but it's like, okay, I don't want to give a fuck anymore, right? And then when you turn 50, it's like, I don't have any more fucks to give. And I wanted to do a spin because I have actually found the opposite to be true for me. And let me tell you a little bit about that. The reason that is because the majority of my life has been spent being small, making myself small, being not too intimidating, trying not to be too sensitive, all the things that toxic social constructs, i.e. religious constructs, all that is like traumatizing, right? Let me know if you've had some religious trauma in your past. All of these social constructs that have taught me that I'm supposed to be a certain way. And the things that I experienced in my life that equaled me behaving in a way where I was just trying to keep myself safe and arriving and going in even into a career. Many of you know I've been a licensed marriage family therapist for the last 25 years. That career I went into because I could be a sensitive person. But even in that career, it was all, and continues to be even more so now, limiting as to how you can express yourself as a therapist. Don't do this, don't do that, do this. And I get that there needs to be some rules, right? However, there came a point when I was being so disconnected. I was disconnecting myself from actual relationships. And I've also had some traumas that have equaled this kind of disconnection and honestly, a dissociation from parts of my life. Religious trauma has played a huge role in me dissociating from the parts of me that are truly freaking fabulous for so long. And so instead of not giving a fuck anymore, I wanted to start giving a fuck more. Now, let me qualify this. This isn't about caring what people think about me, but it is my truest belief that, as humans, one of the beautiful gifts that we have is that we do care. Now, it can feel painful. It can feel like, it can swing both ways. Either I don't care, I don't give a fuck, or I care too much, right? And we forget that there's this middle part. And so what I have done over the last few years is really figure out, because now I want to have deeper relationships in my life. Now I want to be touching more people's lives through this podcast, this show, through the work that I do, right? And I didn't want to say I don't care anymore. I didn't want to. And what does this really require? What are the things that I had to do to say, okay, well, what does that look like for me? And I'm wondering if you can relate to this. Maybe there's a part of you that's been saying, I don't care what those people think about me. Well, survival of our species says that we care what people think so that we can remain attractive and we can procreate and all the blah, 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 right? And yet at the same time, we're taught to ignore the way that we are feeling. A lot of it is disconnecting from our body. And so that's why so many times people struggle with what they know in their mind that they want to do, but they can't get that done, or they can't ever reach that point, or they struggle reaching that point. What we need to do is align the mind and the body. So when I started aligning my mind and my body with wanting to care and wanting to create deeper relationships, I had to figure out what that means to me. And if you watched the 5 aha moments from the Costa Rica, or listened to that episode, I talk about some of the ways that I've done this and the things that came out of that trip too. And it's more paying attention to myself. I wonder if you've struggled with paying attention to yourself. If you've really struggled, or you've lost this part of you, the true self, I call it, the wise one within, I call it. Both of those things are interchangeable for me. The wise one within me, how do I listen to her? How do you listen to them? And how do you uncover and allow to slough off the parts that you were taught that were you, or that you should do, and you let those fall off so that you can then honestly be rebirthed as yourself. And maybe this is what people are talking about when they say they don't want to give a fuck anymore. I think this is really popular amongst women too. This whole phrasing. I mean, you see it all over online. And I wonder if we're having to deny part of what we actually want to join in, to not having, maybe it's like a way of making sure we can do what we want to do. So we have to say, oh, I don't have any more fucks to give. I can't keep caring about everyone else and not myself. Even as I say that, I was like, oh, we were taught that. I don't know about you, but my family, we grew up in poverty, and it's pretty extreme poverty where people would give us 5-gallon buckets of vegetables, and that would literally be what we ate, and thank goodness for those people, right? But my mom was working that whole entire time, and my father wasn't working for quite some time. And, he was, he could do anything. He was so good at doing multiple different things, right? So he got side jobs, but my mom was the one that was carrying the weight. Right. She was the one that kept going to work. She was the one that helped me start my first business in the 7th grade, clown around town. I'll tell you about that another time. Made a lot of money for school clothes that summer. But, she was the one that was carrying the weight, and how much we as women are taught to carry the weight of other people. How many times in marginalized communities, let's just talk about LGBTQ plus community, because I'm a part of that community. How many times we're taught that we are making other people feel uncomfortable by being who we are. I mean, that's fucking bullshit. That's not our responsibility, right? And all of the things that are put on us to say, like, you're making someone, if you do this, then everyone else is that. And I realized that this was one of the things that still needs some little healing just the other day. And so it's like, okay, how do I remain open? How do I even be more open, more expansive to experiencing my life the way that I want to? How do I open myself to receive? How do I allow those things that I was taught? How do I heal those parts of me? In the work I do with people, I talk about healing these parts of us. And we talk a lot about the pattern or the cycles, and then the healing journey that can take place, right? And how we can see ourselves differently. One of the things that I was listening to the other day is when you reach a certain age, you begin to understand that, there isn't really anything you can't do. And there isn't really anything you can't experience in your life. Now, some things are more difficult to get to experience than others. But when you can trust yourself, that ultimate self-trust, that's one of the things that I've created within me, is this ultimate self-trust. It's this ability to be like, oh, this is the way for me. This is the way for me. Being an entrepreneur for about the last 6 years, it takes a lot not to give up. It takes a lot to say, no, I'm keeping the faith in myself. No, I have everything I need. I don't need one more thing to help me know what I need to do, right? It's that reflection. So creating this openness to receive, creating this openness to see myself exactly the way that I want to see myself. What would happen for you if you saw yourself the way that you wanted to? If you actually could look at yourself in the mirror and be like, well, damn, I love this life I'm living. And maybe you're able to say in parts of your life, I love this part and I love that part. It is possible to love every part of the life that you're living. It doesn't mean there's not ups and downs, right? There's still ups and downs in my life, but I'm talking about like even the 80-20 rule. I'm going to say like 85-15, maybe 90-10, where 90% of the time you're like, wow, this is my life. And you create this feeling of gratitude. You create this feeling of awe for your own life. And that really allows you to stay open. It keeps you out of the brainstem, right? So if we talk about this and what we're looking for, or what we're taught to look for from other people for approval, I mean, if you look at, oh my gosh, I cannot talk enough about religious trauma. I can't talk enough about how all of those things really, truly affect us and tell us more about our shortcomings than empower us with our gifts, right? I was using, I use oracle cards with my clients, and I had a client say to me, she's like, Rachel, knowing your background, because I was a preacher's daughter, just FYI, how do you reconcile that you get to use these cards? And I was like, well, the cards don't have any power. Like the cards don't, they just help us look deeper within ourselves. Like there's no magic in the card. The magic is within you, right? And I said, plus, I was given these gifts. I was given this gift of high sensitivity, of high intuitiveness, of all of those things. And this is how I get to use that, right? And so what would it feel like for you, even right now? You don't have to be my age, but what would it feel like if you were just able to look at yourself and be like, I appreciate these parts of me. I'm no longer keeping them under wraps, so to speak, right? And how do we do that? How do you get to a place to where, shit's going to hit the fan? I mean, if you're my age, maybe you're already perimenopause or menopausal, shit hits the fan almost on a daily basis. I don't take any hormones because breast cancer runs in my family. and not really looking for any advice about that, just FYI. But, there's an emotional hormonal thing that takes place. How do you care for yourself during this time? How do you slow yourself down enough and trust yourself enough and to know that if I take care of myself today, and what that really looks like, how are you nurturing yourself? Every day now, I nurture myself. I nurture myself through meditation. And sometimes meditation is hard. I do an hour meditation every morning. Yesterday was intense. It was a struggle in the meditation. Today's meditation, much better, right? How do I make sure I'm getting the sleep I need? I mean, these are some of the basics. How do I make sure I'm drinking the water I need to drink to hydrate my body? How do I honor and care for myself in a way that's truly, truly nurturing? I wonder if you'd be willing to share with me in the comments or in a DM, like, what are the top 3 ways that you nurture yourself? I would love to hear that. It always means so much to me when I hear from all of you. It means so much to me when you respond to the emails and you tell me how inspiring it is or how much you're working on some of these same things, right? So I've learned to nurture myself. And this is part of me instead of not giving an F. Because if I don't give an F about other people, that's really can be a reflection about myself too. And that's not where I want to be. I want to give a fuck about myself. And I want to know that as I do that, it helps me care more about other people, have more compassion for other people, right? And it will create the abundance that I want to experience in my life, both in relationships, financially, all of those things. So there was also some things I mentioned in the email, and I didn't go into detail because it just was a lot. But there's been 2 moments in my life where I realized that if I don't change something, I was going to end up living a life that I didn't want to live. And one of those times was after I had my first hip replacement surgery. I've had 2 now. And I was lying in my bed, and it was almost like it was during the recovery time, the first time. And I had started having suicidal ideation and suicidal thoughts. And I thought, oh my gosh, like this is not how I want to be living my life. Like this can't be all that there is. And I'm wondering if any of you are there. Now, you don't have to have suicidal ideation or thoughts, but what it can be is like, there has to be something else like this. I know that there's a desire for more, a different way of experiencing life. You can find that different way if you begin to open up to yourself, right? And in that moment, it was this aha moment was, I don't want to, this is not what I want for the rest of my life. And I needed to make some pretty big changes in order for me to create something different. And all those years ago, that's what really started this kind of thing of shifting and changing my life and trusting and working through imposter syndrome, and even though I had all the education, I went to PhD school. I mean, I've got it all, right? Like it's just all there. And it was almost like, okay, but the internal stuff was missing. The internal knowing, the internal nurturing, the internal, no, this is what I want, knowing and tapping into that. And once I started on that path, although not easy at all, super rewarding. And at times it did feel really good to know that I was taking care of myself. I was nurturing myself. A lot of people start taking care of themselves in a physical way. And that's really great. However you need to start, you can start. Maybe it's by getting a full night's sleep. Maybe it's by, taking some things out of your diet. Maybe it's walking. We start getting this on a physical track, but I want to empower you. Don't forget about the inside. And how do we be compassionate towards ourselves when we're kind of going through these ups and downs? That's the other thing that has caused me to give a fuck about my own life, It's like, how am I feeling in these ups and downs? How am I able to continue to experience what I want, no matter if something is up and no matter if something is down? So this whole concept about at 51, I want to give more fucks instead of less fucks. I wonder what's resonated with you. And this has been just kind of an off the cuff kind of sharing. But I thought, I want this episode to be different. What has this caused you to start thinking about your life? How do you want to be experiencing your life? What is it that you want to experience that you haven't been able to experience yet? Are you feeling this readiness to say like, okay, it's time for me to care about my life, but that doesn't mean I have to stop caring about other things. Like, it's not one or the other. We get to have both. We get to have it all. And when we have that realization, when we have those moments internally with ourselves, that's when you create the freedom you truly, truly desire. When you realize that there's not a lack, when you realize that there's not a deficit, and, when we stop shaming ourselves, I won't get on my soapbox today, but like this whole self-shaming stuff, I can't stand it. That's what we're taught to do. And even at the age of 51, there are times that I self-shame. But the point is I can catch it really quick, and I know exactly what to do to almost immediately get me out of that spot. That's when you can trust yourself that no matter what's happening externally, you are going to be better than okay. You are going to continue to thrive. It all has to do with how you want to experience your life and what you're willing to do to experience it the way that you want to. So this is my inspirational episode. Hopefully it's inspired you. If it has, I would love to hear how you've been inspired by it. If you're looking to start creating this focus to experience life the way that you want to, I want to encourage you to check out the link below in the comments about the next True You Vision Board event. It's going to be on May 19th. It's always on the new moon because we manifest on the new moon. It is a time to where we come together. You create a vision board. I actually have 2 vision boards here in front of me. And it really is allowing you to use neuroscience, to use a mind-body connection. This is what I'm going to teach you how to do. And every single time that you look at this vision board, you will be reminded, your body will feel that feeling again, and you will directly go. Your reticular activation system in your brain will tell you exactly the way that you want to go, and you will start experiencing life the way that you want to. There's a lot of things that get in our head, and we need to curate what gets into our head. And this True You Vision Board workshop is one of the ways that you can curate what goes into your head, that you can say, this is intentional. This is what I want to experience in my life. We go through some movement. We go through some visualization. It is a freaking remarkable time. There are always a ton of ahas from the people that attend. And if you are interested, it's only $49. Make sure to click on the link below. You can find out more information for that. The next few episodes of the Road to Radical Visibility, I have some really kick-ass guests. You're not going to want to miss them. If you enjoyed it, make sure that you click on and rate the podcast, please, because that's what helps me get up in the iTunes. I mean, I'm just this itty bitty fish in this huge ocean, but I want to be working my way up, and other people get to see the podcast too. That's just one simple free way that you could actually help me take this podcast and this show to the next level. If you watch on the YouTube channel, please make sure to subscribe, and always feel free to share any episode with your friends. All right, so I'm going to end this video and this episode here the way I always end every single episode. Please make sure to stay true to yourself, be kind to others, and always, always, always honor the 100% within you. I will see you all next on the next Road to Radical Visibility. Until then, bye. Hold up, don't go yet. If this episode inspired you to be 100% yourself, 100% of the time, no shame or guilt needed, even just that little bit more, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. I'm here, and I know you are too, to make a positive impact in the world. So don't forget to share the love. And if you were left wanting more of this type of kick-ass content, then don't forget to click the like and subscribe button. Until next time, make sure to stay true and be you. Until then, bye.